Hey, I heard you grew up in the internet. How's the trauma? So, growing up in the internet. I'm a part of that. I'm literally opening this video in a different way that I don't usually do because this topic is a little bit sensitive for me and it's a little bit fucking weird to talk about. If you don't know me, my name is Nicole and I grew up in the internet basically. I'm now 17 years old, but back when I was like 9 to 14 years old, basically the years that's like important to me in growing up, I grew up in the internet, and it's because I'm the last child of the three, and basically it either means they spoil you or they don't give a fuck about you. Unfortunately, I'm one of the latter ones. I mean, my parents did not neglect me, I hope. But I was the last child and I kind of understood why. Like, the attention wasn't really there anymore, and because my parents are much older. So yeah, that's why I kind of grew up in the internet. Okay, basically when I was 9 years old, I used to play this game called Small Worlds, and if you're subscribed to me, you probably already know this because I keep on repeating that shit all over again because it was a big part of my growing up years. And because of that, my parents didn't really care that I kept going on the PC, so I kept playing Small Worlds. I sometimes go outside to play, but when I'm free, when I don't want to go outside, I usually just choose to play Small Worlds. And when I was in the ripe age of 9 years old, my sister was in her teenage years, so I was also exposed to like teenage media when I was like 9 years old, but not the explicit ones, like the ones that's like the emo kids. I don't know. My sister really stanned the Jonas Brothers before, and yeah, I kind of followed her footsteps, some shit like that. She was basically like a fangirl before, and like because of that, because I kind of idolized my sister, I kind of carried that around with me, because when I turned 11 years old, that's where like puberty starts, you know? That's where like your ripe age, and like that's where you start to really grow up as a person. I started to like really dependently grow up in the internet. I had a lot of internet friends and I used like the internet as an escape. I could not live without talking to my internet friends for like one day or so. But that didn't mean I was disconnected with the reality, because I wasn't in a pandemic before. But like most of the things that I believe in right now in terms of life, shit like that, is because of the internet. Is because I grew up in the internet. Like, I literally was prepared for my period because I grew up in the internet. I used to watch like period videos before, even though I didn't have my period back then. Like, I was watching it to educate myself and to like be prepared of my period that's coming. And like, it was so weird because I kind of depended on the internet to have my own opinions, to grow up, and not necessarily my parents. Again, I don't want to say I was neglected, but like it's starting to sound like I was. Like, if you want to know how deep shit I was into the internet, I'm just gonna say I used to stan Dan and Phil. I think that already says a lot. Just because I grew up in the internet does not mean there's like no negative effects, because there is a lot of negative effects when growing up in the internet. And sometimes I feel like I'm disconnected with the reality because I basically grew up in the internet. How else would I fucking say that? I don't know what to say about that experience, but like that has instilled a lot of trauma in me. I used to absorb a lot of unhealthy media back then because I used to use Tumblr, and you know, Tumblr is basically TikTok now, but on steroids. Yeah, there's a lot of toxic material in Tumblr, basically a lot of thinspo, and a lot of like romanticizing of mental illnesses. I grew up around that media, and thank God, like, I grew up to be a person who's like, this shit is not right. But sometimes I feel like I really am dependent on the internet or like the social media world. Lately I've been doing better than that, but before I was really dependent on social media. Sometimes I find real life boring because I just wanted to go on my social medias and like feed into stuff that I don't need to feed in. Thankfully, I have improved, and like the media that I have been sinking in my brain now is like the media that I choose to sink in my brain, but sometimes it is inevitable. I sometimes tend to overshare on the media, which is not good. It's unhealthy. Okay, fuck. I ran out of storage and I forgot what part of the shit that I was talking about. I guess that just depends on, again, the media that you choose to feed into your brain, but sometimes that's just inevitable. But I'm really sad because, yeah, I just know a lot of like young girls that are 11 who are growing really dependent on the internet, and I sometimes find my old self in them, and I know I should not do that. I know I should stop, but to be honest, everything is just repeating. And I sometimes second guess myself. Like, I sometimes second guess my feelings. And sometimes when I'm like, ooh, this doesn't seem right or something like that, I immediately invalidate myself because the fucking internet just invalidates you and some shit like that. It tumbles you around and I just don't fucking know. I know this is such a boomer thing to say, but we're so dependent on fucking social media now. I don't know. If you're a young child and you're struggling and you feel like trauma is settling in you because you're going up in the internet, I have a tip for you. Just... this is gonna be hard to follow. But don't ingest media that make you feel insecure. Follow people who you genuinely love and genuinely makes you feel like you yourself, that uplifts you, instead of like media that makes you shit about yourself and like media that's like you should look like this, because that is fucking toxic. And I grew up in that and I know how that feels and I know the trauma. And my tip for you is just ignore that kind of media. I know it's really hard because it's the fucking internet, like, but yeah. I mean, I guess growing up in the internet makes you like a spicy person, makes you realize more about yourself. Honestly, I don't know what to say anymore. I think I'm done, but it feels like in my brain, like there's still something that I still want to talk about. My brain is just like full of shit. Anyways, yeah, I really idolized a lot of people growing up in the internet. I think that's a really big mistake. You should not idolize people. You should like view people as people. And surprisingly, the people who I used to watch growing up and the people who like I ingested a lot of media in, which results in me like adapting them as a person into me. Did that make any fucking sense? My brain does not work. I'm so sorry. Surprisingly, I used to watch a lot of Tana Mojo before. Thank God I am not like her anymore, but I used to be like Tana Mojo fan. I used to watch a lot of Tana Mojo. Now I came to realize that she's not a good person, and thank God I'm not like her. Yeah, I think that's fucking it. Hopefully I didn't forget anything, because as soon as I hit record, everything that I wanted to say just vanished. I think it's because I'm still kind of fucking scared and still traumatized about it, that my brain is just like, okay, let's block this bullshit. But yeah, that is all for this chit chat, guys. I'm so sorry if it is blabber-ish, if it's all over the place. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!